The unexpected encounter between Alexander and Luna occurred purely by chance. Luna was enjoying the company of her girlfriends in a quaint cafe, while Alexander had come to fetch himself a cup of coffee. In that moment, their eyes locked, and through the radiant smile of the beautiful stranger, Alexander recognized that he could not let this opportunity slip away. And so, a year and a half later, they found themselves joined in matrimony. It was Alexander's second marriage, for his first wife had met a tragic fate, leaving him to raise their 5-year-old daughter all on his own. Fortunately, Ella quickly formed a bond with her stepmother, even going so far as to affectionately address her as Mom. A couple of years later, the couple welcomed their precious son, Daniel, into the world. Ella was overjoyed to fulfill her role as a nurturing elder sister, proving to be a valuable assistant to Luna. The years rolled by, and Ella set off to pursue a higher education, embarking on her first year at the local university. While most students would have moved into the dormitories, Ella opted to stay with her parents despite the inconvenience of commuting. Gradually, a change came over Ella, a hint of secrecy accompanied by an air of delight that seemed to have no obvious cause. Naturally, her parents took notice. Luna, in particular, prodded her beloved daughter to reveal the source of her newfound elation, and after 3 attempts, Luna hit the mark. An admirer had entered Ella's life. Ella confirmed the truth, but was in no rush to divulge much about this mystery man, much less introduce him to her family. And so, her first significant romance began to unfold. It took 6 long months for the persuasive stepmother to convince Ella to arrange their long-awaited rendezvous with this enigmatic young man. One fine evening, as Ella returned home, she was not alone. In the doorway, standing there unabashedly, was Jacob, clutching a cake in his hands. It could be said that he was confident in himself. Not a drop of nervousness was noticeable. This was clearly not his first rodeo when it came to getting to know someone's relatives. Although he was several grades older than Ella, his mature manner made him seem even older, tall and athletic, with a beaming smile and a toned physique. One look at him was enough to understand that he was fond of sports and probably easily attracted the attention of ladies. When Luna came out to greet them, one look at this striking young man made her forget for a moment what she was going to say. Jacob broke into a smile, a typical example of the impression he usually made. The whole family gathered for dinner. Luna continued to fumble, dropping things from her hands and awkwardly laughing at her own clumsiness. She reproached herself. "You're a grown woman, but you're acting like a teenager." Dinner went smoothly, and Jacob charmed everyone. Even Daniel found a common language with him during the discussion of the computer game. Luna, however, hasn't quite gotten along with him yet. From that day on, Jacob started dropping in more often, always with his girlfriend in tow. They usually arrived before her father returned from work, so only Daniel and his mom Luna were at home. Over the past year, Luna has switched to remote work, so her work did not require much time. This flexibility allowed her to take breaks and greet visitors warmly. Every time she greeted them and offered them something to eat, she noticed Jacob staring at her, and it made her feel uncomfortable. Her cheeks were slightly flushed with embarrassment under his gaze. She couldn't help but bask in the satisfaction of attracting those interested glances. One day, Luna was at home as usual, working away at her computer. It was around lunchtime, and she was about to take a break when the doorbell suddenly rang. Curious, she peeked through the peephole and saw Jacob standing on the doorstep. Opening the door with a puzzled expression, she inquired what brought him there so early in the day. He responded that he and Ella had been missing each other and presumed she might have returned home already. "Oh no, you must be mistaken. Ella attends all her classes. She still has more to go," Luna clarified. "Would you mind if I waited for her here?" the young man asked, flashing a polite smile. Without much argument, Luna showed him into the kitchen. She had a sneaking suspicion that Jacob wasn't the most diligent student around, often skipping classes, just as he had likely done that day. His visit seemed to have a more fabricated reason. Nevertheless, she joined him for a brief chat over a cup of tea, then apologized, explaining she needed to get back to her work. Returning to her computer, Luna settled back into her task. Barely 10 minutes had passed when she unexpectedly felt a pair of strong hands wrap around her from behind, and then a voice whispered in her ear, "You want this too, don't you?" Indeed, Jacob's intuition wasn't wrong. Everything transpired right there in the living room. In the aftermath, Luna felt as though she was standing before her daughter, but an overwhelming sense of pleasure overshadowed any negative emotions. Approximately a week into her observation, Luna started to discern an increasingly gloomy aura enveloping her daughter each day as she returned. Ella, who typically sprang out of bed with vigor every morning, now maintained a somber silence during their breakfast rituals. Luna hesitated to probe, intuitively sensing that her daughter's woes might be linked to romantic troubles. Eventually, overwhelmed by emotional strain, Ella burst out, "He left me. I can't fathom what went wrong or what I did to deserve this." Luna offered comfort, genuinely disheartened by her daughter's plight. Yet she couldn't shake off a secret, guilt-laced relief that Jacob was now exclusively hers. As time passed, Jacob's visits grew more frequent, timed perfectly when the house was empty, her daughter preoccupied with classes, her son at school, and her husband at work. Their rendezvous was meticulously planned, designed to escape notice. However, they underestimated the unpredictable. One ominous day, as Luna and Jacob reveled in their stolen moments, they were jolted by the sound of a key turning in the front door. In a frantic flurry, they scrambled to appear nonchalant but failed miserably. Before they could compose themselves, Ella walked in. The scene before her, a disheveled Luna and Jacob, unleashed her fury. In a wrathful frenzy, she hurled books, dishes, and figurines, anything within reach, targeting the pair who betrayed her. The boy hastily gathered his belongings and bolted, leaving Luna frozen in dismay. She found herself facing the grim reality of being alone with her daughter, whom she had grievously wronged. Overwhelmed by the situation, Ella broke down into sobs and fled the apartment as well. By nightfall, the entire family convened. Ella struggled mightily to gather the courage to disclose the day's unsettling events to her father. When she finally steadied herself and started to recount the tale, Luna was like a ghost of herself, barely present. She had previously attempted a brief escape under the pretense of running an errand to the shop, but her husband's scornful glance halted her, his eyes clearly communicating, "In her condition, you think leaving is an option." Before beginning her difficult confession, Ella asked her brother to retire to his room, sparing him the distress of her ordeal. Alexander was initially in denial, not wanting to acknowledge the painful truths his daughter relayed. However, he soon came to understand that Ella had no reason to fabricate such a tale, confirming the day's grim events were indeed factual. Striving to maintain his composure and avoid raising his voice in front of his children, he declared the need for a private conversation with his wife and requested privacy from the rest of the family. In his entire life, he had never encountered such a deception. He tried to rationally explain to his wife the reasons for her actions, in particular, why she forcibly took the boy from his daughter. The woman was silent. Her sobs broke the silence. Her breathing was ragged and uneven, which made it impossible for her to say anything meaningful. The marriage dissolved. Alexander kept the apartment and the children, while Luna moved to a leased residence. She then initiated a struggle to gain custody of her son. It was a difficult period for the boy, caught in the emotional tug-of-war between his parents. Eventually, his sister bluntly revealed the extent of their mother's actions against their father, swaying the boy's allegiance towards his dad. Thus, Luna found herself alone, devoid of both a spouse and her children. She and Jacob still saw each other sporadically for a time, but eventually, Jacob's interest drifted to another, younger woman. With her, he could freely face the public, free from scrutiny or the discomfort brought on by their age gap. All this woman's dreams of an ideal future just disappeared into thin air. Her ex despised her, and the kids didn't want anything to do with her. It dawned on her that she had single-handedly taken all these years of marital happiness, crumpled them up like an old piece of paper, and thrown them right into the trash.